I felt that this would be a good way to end 2021, my current power ranking tier list for Kengan Omega, seeing how it changes throughout 2022, but first make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Kengan content. Now, let's begin. Take note that this video was recorded when chapter 140 was the most recent, the battle between the three leaders for reference, but now let's get into the tier list. In D tier, the trash, I have Nezu, Chiba, Ghost Dude, and Sawada. All four of them are hard to gauge and have pretty much been rolled in all their fights. Sawada could potentially be higher, but was described as a rival for Rito back in Ashura. We haven't seen Sawada in Omega, so I can't say whether he's stronger or not, so right now these are the four at the bottom. This is my C tier. Characters like Inaba, Himuro, maybe the Doctor, I do believe can defeat anyone else on the tier list. Characters like Koga, of course, will be rising as the story continues. Right now, he's a little bit below Konkoro. In their last rematch, he barely lost, and now with his improvements, watching top level fighters in the Kengan vs Purgatory tournament, and most likely some more improvements in this up and coming worm arc, Koga will soon rise out of this tier. Himuro could potentially be higher via statements from the author, but again, his actual showings in the story aren't that impressive. Yes, he's undefeated in Kengan matches, but we haven't really seen any of those, but did kinda flex on a suppressed Garuki, which was pretty cool, but of course that could have been due to his Gar style knowledge. These are the characters in B tier. So first, Rito lost against Falcon, yes, but Falcon after the fight said he would lose in the rematch against Rito. I think there are two reasons why he said this. Rito is still improving, and Falcon's fighting style more so works one time against an opponent who hasn't seen it before. Characters like Yumi could potentially go higher. Yes, he's a Fang, but described as the weakest Fang. However, has defeated characters like Jose who are on the same tier. Seki talks about it being like a one-sided stomp, but the fact that Jose kinda snapped one of Yumi's arm, I'm just gonna put them on the same tier, but Yumi is definitely stronger. Kyozan is definitely the top of B. He could potentially go in A next to Seki, but I do think he's kinda limited himself more in Omega due to his change of style, and of course he did lose against Seki and not the Marvelous Seki, so the top of B is very solid for him. Alan, hard to gauge. We have the character profile calling him like a top level fighter, but that same statement is used for like various other characters, so it doesn't really mean much. Could go higher, doesn't really matter. Alan Wu's gone. And Meguro, yes, Jaime said Meguro stronger than him, but based on various other statements from like the older Jaime and showings from Jaime, I'm just going to leave Meguro below him. Also respect Karo the Fisherman, one of the most underrated characters in the series. Kinda pushed Sorpang quite a bit during their fight, with the ability to stomp anyone else in the verse when fighting in water. Now onto the A ranks. This one is fairly big, but right now I'm just going to say anyone in this tier list can defeat anyone else given the right circumstances. So the exact placement doesn't really matter too much, but this is what I'm currently going for. For example, characters like Carlos above Naden. Naden, as we know, lost against Lu Dongchen while Carlos defeated Lu Dongchen, with the argument being available that Carlos defeated peak Lu Dong. I go into more detail about how a lot of people underrate Carlos in my video here, especially considering he's a master of pre-initiative as well. This Kure member was stated by Matsuda to be incredibly strong and actually thought he was the fighter representing the Kure during the Kengan Ashura Annihilation tournament, so he must be very powerful, also one of the Kure members with the highest removal. Hopefully we get to see him fight at some point during this Wu vs Kure war. Characters like Mutaba have insane adaptation and the potential to one-shot really anyone. We have other Fangs and potential Fangs, very powerful, hopefully we get to see more of them in Omega. Characters like Garuki I do believe will rise in the ranks as the story continues, with his importance to the plot, and I personally believe Garuki has yet to go all out in Kengan Omega. Now onto the S tier. Again, really anyone in this tier list can defeat anyone else, but I like the order I have here. Misasa is very impressive but needs to fight someone who's strong. Yumi, again, kinda got rolled by him. Ray recently returned to Omega, but we haven't seen him fight. Could go potentially higher, could go potentially lower, but I feel like he's going to be a safe place here. Kiryu as well has returned in Omega, but we haven't seen him fight. He seems to be more sane, I'm guessing he is also stronger. Waka, a lot of people seem to disrespect due to what happened in his fight against Faye, but being fair, he didn't lose. Still has his blast core, his super big brain, and overall still a very dangerous fighter. Hatsumi like Ray recently returned, most likely has improved over the time skip. Could be lower, could be higher, can't really say, this is a safe spot. Toa faced Lolong, meaning he's one of the strongest A-list gladiators, has power equal to Julius on a base level, has Niko style like techniques as a whole quite broken. Galang able to blitz pre-initiative, the potential best striker in the verse, was very clearly much stronger than the likes of Carlos, with Carlos being implied to be one of the strongest Purgatory fighters. As such, Galang should at least be around here. Lu Tien suppressed while he's fighting in Purgatory and still being considered one of the strongest, has his perfect formulas. Yes, he got rolled by Kanoh and didn't do really any major damage to him, but did warn him out to such a degree where Kanoh actually fell to his knees. Very impressive, and of course Guhan as well. Koichi, the master of Cosmo, considering that he's still training Cosmo, it's pretty safe to say that he's above current Cosmo, who's most likely, as I mentioned earlier, in the A tier around the higher end. Will most likely have a fight against a higher level worm member after he beats on ZG quite a bit. He is pretty much confirmed to be weaker than Joji in Omega and Fist of the Seeker, so that's why he's a tier below. Very dangerous, hopefully we get to see what he's capable of. Drata described to be an equal of Lolong. I personally rank him a little bit below Lolong due to his personal beliefs, his fighting style, and some other issues I have with him. Hopefully he gets some redemption later in the story. And Julius has the potential to beat anyone in the verse, including the people who are going to be above him. Got Tata, I do think he beats current Waka with his new improvements, very dangerous. Could potentially go on the top tier, which I'll talk about soon, but I think it's safe to put him here for now. Now onto the double S. Lolong is someone everyone loves to disrespect now due to the way he lost against Ohma. But if you look at the fight, what actually happened, Lolong almost defeated Ohma at various points. If it was a fight to the death, I think Lolong would have performed better and may have some other tricks up his sleeve. He's a master of pre-initiative who pretty much has shit on every other Purgatory fighter, at least various implications point to that. Faye could potentially be stronger than Lolong or weaker, doesn't really matter. Didn't really demonstrate everything he could do against Waka, as he was more so flexing for the majority. If he was going for the win, he could have won at various points, and I do think he could potentially beat anyone in the verse given the right circumstances. Joji described as the pinnacle of Rokushin karate with over 1 million practitioners, very impressive. The uncle of Koga, so a benchmark for Koga to potentially overcome in the future. If Koga is going to potentially get stronger than Ohma, he'll most likely need training from someone who's potentially on the same tier. Described as one of the strongest in Fist of the Seeker, I will be releasing a strongest characters in Fist of the Seeker video sometime next week or a week later, so stay tuned for that, but just take note, Joji is an absolute beast. And now the remaining characters in Double S I believe are very interchangeable, doesn't really matter on the ranking, but Ohma, as we know, was able to shit on Lolong, has pre-initiative now, has Niko style mastery, has Kure clan mastery, advanced Ohma kinda broken. Kure Raian, as shown throughout all the flashbacks, is stronger than Ohma, or at very least on the same level. As such, Raian same level as Ohma. Kanoh Agito is monstrous, described by Kuroki as someone he doesn't know whether he can defeat anymore. Kuroki is kinda put on a pedestal narratively in the Ohma vs Lolong fight, being someone for Ohma to surpass in the future or to have a rematch with sometime. At the current recording of this video, I do think Kuroki is slightly stronger, but if you think Ohma's stronger, that's fine, doesn't really matter, definitely same tier of fighters. Edward Wu, I do think as a whole is slightly stronger than Kure Raian, however, I do think he'll die by the hand of Kure Raian during the Wu vs Kure Raw, most likely due to other circumstances like Irio sacrificing himself or something like that. And then the Tiger Niko, pretty much the final boss of this arc potentially, maybe the leader of the worm as well, but I think that will come later. Says that he surpassed Ohma's Niko, is someone for Kanoh and Ohma to fight in the future, has to be very strong. Kinda use Faye for his own benefit, of course must be stronger than Faye, that's why I believe Faye could potentially go at the top of S, but it doesn't really matter, the Tiger Niko is going to be absolutely monstrous as well. Just look what he did against weaponed up Mutaba. And then, yeah, that's my main tier list. At the top here I have some extras who I didn't really know where to place. Ohma's Niko, I do think is inferior to current Ohma, but I do think he should still be in double S tier, maybe below Ohma or below Joji or something like that. The ancestor of Yamashita, maybe someone Koga is going to get at the same level of with the fist line and everything like that. Maybe top of S. Garamikaki, I do think in his prime is potentially the strongest in the verse. Maybe when Garuki reaches his peak, we'll get an indication of how strong Garamikaki truly was. Prime Irio is inferior to current Kanoh, but could potentially be in double S as well. The leader of the main branch of the Wu can't really gauge, maybe top of 8. I don't think he's too impressive, more of an assassin weapon user. The uncle of Ray I think is inferior to current Ray, so maybe somewhere in A. And the leader of the worm Yarn I do think will most likely be in double S, above Tiger Niko potentially, on same level as Edward Wu, who knows, that's what the narrative is really pointing to currently. Retsudo, potentially weaker than Misa, potentially stronger. I do personally think he's going to be a weapon user, so can't really gauge. And Yamashita and Medicine Man, the two gods of the verse alongside Jerry as well. But yep, that's everything for today's power ranking tier list video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe, join the Discord, follow my Twitter, and as always, shout out to these people who support our channel via the Patreon. But yep, that's it guys, peace.